Well, Dennis Schroder from Oklahoma City, they'll finalize that deal here in the next few days. But Danny Green going back to Oklahoma City, perhaps onto a third team. More importantly for Oklahoma City, the 28th pick in the draft. They have 16 first-round picks here over the next 5 years. But for the Lakers, they may lose Rajon Rondo in free agency. Schroder is a player who is a very versatile guard, can play both spots, and really helps the defending champs.
Vinay, the Lakers finally made a move to improve the roster going into 2021, and they are the first team to make a trade. It's not official yet, but they're the first team to make a trade. They brought in, as far as we know, Dennis Schroder.
Yes.
What's being reported as the 28th pick in this week's draft, and potentially Danny Green as well. So Schroder, man, coming off a year where he could have won six-man, he averaged 18 points a game, like 4 assists, I believe, 38% from three. He seems to be the perfect kind of guard that the Lakers, could have used this past season, even though we still won. The scoring punch, the ability to create his own shot. He's got a mid-range game, can run the two-man game with Anthony Davis when LeBron's on the bench. I mean, this is a home run, right?
Yeah, when we look at just the kind of player he is, he's a volume scorer. He's a guy who's not shy to take a lot of shots when he comes off the bench, and he's a really good. I'm gonna as we speak, I'll pull up the information in regards to his play type data when it comes to pick and roll ball handling, which is what he likes to do, and any dribble handoff stuff that he likes. But he's a excellent complement. The Lakers sorely needed a scoring guard last year when the offense kind of got stagnant during the regular season, and a lot of the issues that the Lakers sort of had with their bench unit, the genesis or the origin of that issue came from the fact that they didn't really have any pure scorers outside of Anthony Davis. And because they were relying on Anthony Davis to be the pure scorer, it made it much easier for the bench defense to just opposing defenses to just kind of zone in on him when LeBron left the court. And, obviously there was some developmental issues for Kuzma. He wasn't really able to take the leap. He was also injured because of his ankle at the beginning of the season. So a lot of frame of reference stuff, or a lot of historical stuff that we don't need to really rehash since that stuff is water under the bridge. But the Lakers basically prioritized their number one priority, the most important thing that they needed to improve from what happened last season, or what they needed last season, the biggest hole they had last season, and they addressed it. And it's as of right now, the only thing that's been reported is that it's just for the 28th pick. Obviously, the Lakers have to send out salary. The rumor that's supposed to be kind of the most common sense sort of person that's supposed to be sent out is Danny Green, is what Woj was originally reporting prior to the trade being officialized. He hasn't actually been named officially. He hasn't been named officially as part of that deal. The only thing that's been officially reported by Shams and Woj has been just that he's going to be traded for the 28th pick. And we'll get into what that can sort of mean in the next segment. But the part that I want to sort of bring up is that the Lakers getting him for just the 28th pick and an expiring salary is pretty awesome. And the reason why that's awesome is because if we had to go back in time about mid-season and have this same exact conversation about what it would cost to get a guy like Dennis Schroder, I'm pretty sure, OKC would be asking for Caruso plus Kuzma plus the expiring salary and possibly a first-round pick. So the cost of doing it at the time would have been probably much more tremendous than it would have been anywhere else. And so the Lakers, and there is some irony in this, right? The Lakers were like the team with the Clippers. The Lakers were the team that was last to make any free agency moves last offseason because of the Anthony Davis trade, and then subsequently holding off for Kawhi. And this time, the Lakers wasted absolutely no time at all in making sure that they were able to nab the person that they wanted. And so, overall, from a basketball fit standpoint, he's fantastic. He's exactly what the Lakers needed in a 72-game season where we know that LeBron and Anthony Davis need to conserve their health. They are going to probably rely on Schroder a lot more than maybe folks realize. He'll get the shots that he wants. And I think the part that I'm most excited about is last year we learned that the Lakers had very smartly assembled the right role players around Anthony Davis and LeBron James for them to be successful. Aside from the fact that they had put together, a roster of veterans that had some championship pedigree to them, uh, they were able to bring in guys that bought into their roles, and that largely ended up being successful because we really didn't need them to do more than what we wanted them to do. Either shoot threes and defend, or just defend and take the open shot when you get it. Those sort of things are kind of what makes life easier for role players. And what we're seeing right now, Rajon Rondo, who is a guy who was expected to be out of the league, is now a threat to command maybe a double-digit salary, like in the 9 to 10 million, from a team that values kind of his mindset and his IQ and stuff like that. So this idea of like finding a way to make this trade, but also be patient enough to make it in a fashion where we're not like overextending our assets or giving up too many assets. It's fantastic. Like we talked about this, I want to say like a year ago, that the best thing that could possibly happen to the Lakers, this was prior to the pandemic, is that they win a championship in year one with Anthony Davis. And I know you and I were both very high about how well those two, LeBron James and Anthony Davis fit together, and all those pieces that they had around them, all the defensive pieces that they had. The fact that they were able to do it in year one takes off so much pressure from this team that now, instead of being like reactive to what's happening to the rest of the league, they can now be proactive. They can say, all right, we're just going to go get the guy that we want if it's at a cost that makes sense for us. We don't have to wait and see how much a sixth man of the year costs with another team to see how we can barter on our end. And if anything, what we're seeing is the Lakers winning a championship is causing other teams to actually be more reactive and have to really get into an arms race for certain guys, as we're seeing with a lot of the rumors and stuff like that are happening. So I think he's a great basketball fit. I think he is a great personality fit. He seems like a really funny guy. He seems like he like really enjoys basketball. He is a competitive guy. And some part of me thinks that like maybe this is all speculative, but some part of me thinks that like LeBron probably called Chris Paul and said, "Hey, is this guy serious about playing basketball?" And Chris Paul's like, "Yeah, this guy, he's he wants to compete. He's a good player, and he would be a good fit." And so we know that Rob Pelinka doesn't make moves without consulting Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And I wouldn't be surprised if both of them signed off on this and said, "Yeah, this is the guy that we need to kind of help keep the bench afloat." And to be honest, it kind of reduces the like the concern now about whether we bring back Rondo and that sort of thing. So I'm very, very curious to see where the Lakers go from here, because there are definitely some holes that they'll have to fill if Green is the only guy that's being sent out.